Welcome to Top Thoughts YouTube channel. Today we bring you a list of the top 5 U.S. elections that shocked the United States of America. The election results are often shocking in every country. Now we're going to discuss U.S. elections which were most shocking. We took a look at a lot of data and did our research to come up with our top 5 list. Number 5. Rutherford B Hayes, 1876. Rutherford B Hayes was the 19th President of the United States, from 1877 to 1881. This one was a doozy. Democratic Governor Samuel Tilden of New York won 250,000 more ballots in the popular vote than his Republican opponent, Rutherford B Hayes, and snagged 19 more electoral votes. But Tilden was still one electoral vote short of the required majority, 185, and 20 votes remain uncounted for. Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina remained too close to call, as each party accused the other of fraud, while in Oregon, an elector was declared illegal and replaced with controversial results. As the crisis mounted, threats of another civil war loomed. In an unprecedented move, Congress established a 15-member commission of senators, congressmen, and Supreme Court justices, including 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats, and an independent, to decide the election. After the swing vote turned in Hayes' favor, he was awarded all 20 electoral votes from the disputed states, giving him the necessary 185. After the Democrats threatened to filibuster and block the official vote counting, the issue was settled in negotiations at D.C.'s Wormley Hotel in February 1877. The Democrats would accept Hayes' victory provided that Hayes removed all federal troops from the South, among other conditions. The compromise consolidated Democratic control of the region, effectively ending Reconstruction and reversing the gains that African Americans had made during the post-Civil War era. 4. Abraham Lincoln, 1860. Abraham Lincoln was an American statesman and lawyer who served as the 16th President of the United States from 1861 to 1865. The presidential election of 1860 wasn't just contentious, it tore the nation apart. Abraham Lincoln, the chosen nominee for the fledged Republican Party and a steadfast opponent of slavery, wasn't even on the ballot in most southern states, while the Democratic Party went with Lincoln's Illinois rival, Senator Stephen Douglas, as their candidate. The southern branch of the party defected, choosing sitting Vice President John Breckinridge as its candidate. Senator John Bell of Tennessee rounded out the race on the ticket of the new Constitutional Union Party. Lincoln won only 40% of the popular vote, but took most of the electoral votes in the North, along with California and Oregon. Breckinridge won the electoral votes in most of the South, along with Maryland and Delaware. Bell won Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia, while Douglas captured only Missouri. Despite finishing second in the popular vote, just weeks after Lincoln's victory, South Carolina voted to succeed. 6 more southern states followed, forming the Confederate States of America in February 1861, with Jefferson Davis as president. 3. Andrew Jackson, 1828. Andrew Jackson was America's soldier and statesman who served as the 7th President of the United States from 1829 to 1837. By this time, the Federalist Party had dissolved, and all 4 candidates for president were Democratic or Republicans. Old Hickory, Andrew Jackson, hero of the War of 1812, won the popular vote by fewer than 39,000 ballots and captured 99 electoral votes. Secretary of State John Quincy Adams took 84 electoral votes, with 41 going to Treasury Secretary William Crawford and 37 to House Speaker Henry Clay. As no candidate earned a majority of electoral votes, the election again went into the House of Representatives. Clay was eliminated from contention. Only 3 candidates could be considered, but still controlled the House. After a month of backroom negotiations, Clay's supporters largely threw their weight behind Adams, enabling him to win the House vote. As states that had cast most of their electoral votes for Jackson, Maryland, Illinois, Louisiana, and Kentucky, now turned in favor of Adams. When Adams chose Clay as his Secretary of State soon after his inauguration, an enraged Jackson called it a corrupt bargain. Quitting his Senate post, he vowed to come back and win in 1828, which he did at the head of a new Democratic Party, toppling Adams, by then leader of the National Republican Party, after only 1 term. 2. Ronald Reagan was an American politician who served as the 40th President of the United States from 1981 to 1989, ushering in a new era of conservatism and placing Ronald Reagan at its forefront. Years later, it became clear how the presidential election that took place on November 4th, 1980, exactly 35 years ago, changed America's history. But up until the vote actually happened, few saw it coming. Landslide. Yes, landslide stunning, startling, astounding, beyond the wildest dreams and nightmares of the contending camps, beyond the furthest kin of the armies of pollsters, pundits, and political professionals, proclaimed Time's post-election cover story. After all, thousands of miles, the millions of words and dollars, the campaign that in newspapers across the land on the very morning of Election Day was still headlined "Too Close to Call" turned out to be a landslide. But not everyone was shocked. Lawrence Barrett, who had been reporting on Reagan's campaign for Time since the beginning of the year, and who later wrote a book about Reagan's administration, Gambling with History, had a hunch that the Republican was going to win big. Yet he remained circumspect about his hunch. Shortly before the election, a remark of Barrett's had been printed in Time's letter from the publisher. "Come November 4, I have a 50-50 chance knowing the president-elect better than most people know their next-door neighbors." As Barrett, now 80, notes, a lot can change ahead of a vote. Something can always happen at the last minute. For instance, if Carter had somehow managed to spring the hostages on Iran before Election Day, I think that he would have been reelected, he says. The real question about the 80 election, I think, is when did it come clear that Reagan was plausible, that he had a good chance to win? After all, there were plenty of knocks on the man who was to be president. Too old, too conservative, too unconventional a resume. And before we get to our number one, please remember to smash the like button and subscribe for most weekly content. Number 1. Donald Trump, 2016. Donald Trump is the 45th and current president of the United States. Before entering politics, he was a businessman and television personality. George versus Gore may have been the first time in modern history a president was elected despite losing the popular vote. But it wasn't the last. In 2016, businessman and reality TV host Donald Trump defeated former First Lady, Senator, and Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, even though she received 3 million more votes than him in the popular vote. The election was unprecedented in many other ways. Trump, who ran despite never having held elected office, brought unabashed populism to the campaign trail. Despite trailing Clinton in the national polls, Trump won several critical states in the Midwest and Rust Belt, giving him an advantage in the Electoral College. And there you have it, folks, the top 5 elections that shocked the United States of America. We thank you for watching, and let us know who you think had the most shocking U.S. election.